Hello, in this video we will be looking into the nomenclature rules for organic chemistry. So in the previous video we had looked into the types of formulae. So in order to write down the name of an organic compound, you've got to follow some rules. The first rule is whenever you're given the organic compound, you've got to figure out what is the longest chain. So sometimes we call that longest chain as the parent chain. So the parent chain, if it contains 5 carbon, you would call the name starting with pent. So like pentanol, pentane, pentanoic acid. So the pent part of the name indicates the number of carbon in the parent chain. So you'll have to learn these word root. Once you've figured out the word root, you've got to find out the longest chain. So if I get this compound here, I need to know how many carbon atoms are there. So this one has got 5 carbon atom chain. So the root word is pent. So the name would start with pent. When you've got branched chain, then you've got to think which one is my longest chain. If I just went like that, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas if I tried going this way, then I've got more than 4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you've got to check, you've got to try out different possibilities in order to figure out the longest chain. And again, I've got 5 carbons, so this compound would begin with a pent. The lowest sum rule. The lowest sum rule indicates that if you've got, for example, if I've got a compound, now I'm only going to show the carbon chain. If I've got a compound that looks like this, I've got the longest chain 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can find the longest chain. I've got 5. Now I've got options. I can count in that direction. If I count in that direction, the carbon chains, now these things, if you can imagine, that's your long train, and these are some things that are attached to the side of the train. So you've got something attached at position 3, something attached at position 4. So 3 plus 4 gives you 7. Now try counting from the other side as well. You've got to try both sides. And when you count the other way, you find numbers 2 and 3 on the substituent or the side chains. So that gives you number 5 as the sum. So you would always select the lowest sum rule. So now you will select that type of numbering that gives you the lowest number to the side chains. So always try out numbering from both ends. In this compound, you will go for the numbering from this side onwards so that the substituents get number 2 and 3. When you get any branched chain, so in the previous one where we had position 2 and 3, because you've got only one carbon attached. Now if I put the hydrogens there, so I've got CH2, 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 CH3, so CH3, CH3, right? So it's one carbon. So what is that name? So if I start decoding, my word root is pent. Because there is all straight chain, you would say it's a pentane. Now you've got position 2 and 3, you've got few things hanging out. Those that are hanging outside, they could be your prefix. Yeah, so they are represented as prefix because they're alkyl groups. So that's what I'm explaining in this slide here. Any branch chain, if it's carbon chain, then you count the number of carbon atoms and you attach it as a prefix. In the previous slide, we saw that both of them had one carbon, therefore you call them methyl. So in this name, I've got pentane as the main compound, and on position 2, I've got methyl group, and on position 3, I've got another methyl group. So rather than writing 2 and 2-methyl and 3-methyl, you merge them together and you call them dimethyl. And then you would have 2, 3 dash dimethyl. So the rules are between the numbers, you always use a comma. So you've got to write down both numbers and then you use a dash between a number and a alphabet. And an alphabet is always a dash. So the name is 2, 3 dimethyl pentane. If your compound has a functional group, you've got to name and identify and name the functional group. So functional groups are a group of atoms that are responsible for characteristic reaction of a molecule. These are some functional groups that you will have to memorize but don't worry, you can learn them as you go along your syllabus. So when you study alkanes, you would know that the ending is always with the remember that these are always suffix. Suffix is what comes at the end of the name. Prefix is what comes at the start. So we'd looked into the side chain prefixes. So alcohol is hydroxy, but if it is used as a suffix, it's all. Now, how do you know which one is a prefix, which one is a suffix? For that, you would need to know the priority rule. So the priority rule is that if a compound contains more than one functional group, the higher priority would become the suffix and the lower priority would be the prefix. But if it's a double and triple bond, they'll always be the suffix. So how do we know which one's got more priority? So this is the order of priority. You would have carboxylic acid priority more than the aldehydic group, more than the ketonic group, and greater than alcohol, greater than double bond, and the RH bond is the least priority. So if the carboxylic acid group is present along with alcohol, then the alcohol will become the prefix, whereas the carboxylic acid would be the suffix. So you would have to learn this priority rule in order to figure out how to name the functional groups. So the functional group rules, if I've got, let's say 1, 2, 3, I've got OH here, HH. So I'm showing the displayed formula, showing all the bonds. I do the longest chain. I've got 3 carbons in the chain. I always number from the side which gives the substituent of the functional group the lower number. So I've got prop. It's all single bonds, so propane. So I've got prop and ane, and I've got at position 1, I have got all. Now because that all begins with a vowel, you would drop the E. So the name becomes propan all. You don't even have to write number 1. Even if you did write the number, like in this case, it becomes 2 all. So anything that begins with A, E, I, O, U, so anything that is beginning with A, E, I, O, U, you will drop the E from the end of that alkane. If it does not begin with a vowel, then you will keep it. So like in the case of a consonant, you will keep that. If there are more than one functional group, then you would use di and tri, but at that point you will not remove the terminal. So functional groups take precedence over branched chain. So 3-methyl-but-1-ene. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If that's the compound, then how would I name it? So I've got 3-methyl. So 1, 2. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So that's the compound. So I would number it, if I number it from this side, my functional group is given number 1 and my side chain has got number 3. Whereas if I start numbering from this side, my side chain has got number 2, but this one, the functional group, has got position 3. So the sum rule is 2 plus 3 is 5, whereas if I number from this side, I've got 1 and 3, so therefore 4. So I will always number it that way. So I would call it 3-methyl-but-1-ene rather than 2-methyl-but-3-ene. And notice here, between the number and the name is a dash. If more than 2 functional group is present, you would use di and tri, and you will not remove the E from the name of the words are separated by numbers. Words are separated by numbers with dashes. Numbers are separated by commas. If more than one functional group is present, then you would use di and tri, but you would ignore any of the di and tri if you are checking the alphabetical order. So if they are arranged, they have to be arranged in an alphabetical order, but you would ignore any di and tri in that case. So overall, in a nutshell, we've just looked into some of the rules in writing or figuring out the name of an organic compound. So we'll look into these rules and we're going to apply these rules to find out the names of organic compounds in the next video. So thank you for listening and watching, and I hope this has been helpful. The next video will see the applications of these rules. So see you at the next video. Thank you.